Hey, Adele. Let's see.
Good.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hey. We are live on YouTube now. I think that the system is setting everybody to mute when you come in. So if you're sounding so, well, I'm going to give everybody a few more minutes here. I know we had a lot of people registered today. Just a couple minutes and then we'll get started. Going to post a little bit of information in the chat in the meantime.
Okay.
Where's the chat? There's the chat. Just contact information for the Dry Eye Foundation and also our calendar because we have a number of other groups as well. Okay, I don't see anybody else in the waiting room, so we'll just go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for coming. This is a big experiment. It's our first one for Scleral Lens users specifically. So I'm Rebecca at the Dry Eye Foundation in Paulsbo, Washington. And just wanted a little privacy notice first. This is a recorded session and we are live streaming on YouTube. So if that's an issue for you, this would be a good time to drop out. We do make these available online afterwards on the YouTube channel. And we will be doing some private ones as well. I'm planning to, since we'll be doing Scleral Lens ones every week, I'm planning to alternate between the public ones and the private ones. And one last just quick notice before we start. This group is hosted by the Dry Eye Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit. And I'm here on behalf of the foundation, not the Dry Eye Shop. The shop's not connected to the foundation, and I know that can be confusing for people. It comes up in some of our other groups, so I just wanted to get out there in front of that today. So I think we'll just go straight into people introducing and sharing. And Adele, I think you were here first, so why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Hi, I'm Adele, and I have been wearing scleral lenses now since December of 2014. I have damage from refractive surgery, specifically from RK back in the 90s. And so I have corneal scarring from that. And then I have dry eye. Of course, it's impossible to know how much of it is a result of refractive surgery and how much of it is a result of other factors. I'm actually just recently finding out a bunch of stuff about autoimmune issues that I have, so it's only become more complicated. So that's kind of my story. A practitioner I was recently seeing in Seattle has now quit practicing optometry, so I'm definitely looking for people in Western Washington, providers that I can continue to see for scleral lenses.
That was a bombshell hearing about Dr. Habibi leaving. It really was. I've been hearing from a number of her patients. And
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like she went somewhere else. I mean, I'll continue to Google regularly, but it was a bit of a shock when I found out. I of course asked her assistant, well, did she go move away somewhere else, etc. And I was told no, she just went, decided to spend more time traveling, seeing family, etc.
I'm just so jealous. That sounds really fun. That's awesome. All right, so it looks like PJ's having a little trouble with the audio at the moment, so let us know if we can help at all. Vicky, hi. Would you like to introduce yourself, Vicky? It looks like you're unmuted. kind of hearing audio coming in and out. How about we'll come back to you. Kelly, would you like to go ahead?
Hi. So I'm kind of shy. I prefer not to be on camera.
No problem.
Okay. So I just recently joined the group. I've been doing lots of, internet searches. I haven't started wearing scleral lenses yet. Just kind of just fitted for them, and I'm just waiting to start trying them. Yeah, I've been suffering about 5 years now with symptoms, and I've been to maybe 5 or 6 different doctors trying to find help with my issues. And I just kind of found this doctor on the internet, and hopefully she's going to help me.
Great. So you said 5 years of symptoms. Is this about dry eye or pain or vision stuff too, or?
Well, all kinds of symptoms. So a lot of pain, burning, blurriness, itching. Just I've had quite a few different diagnoses, but right now, I guess I have dry eye caused by severe ocular rosacea, and so now I have some inflammatory tissue on my cornea, so that's pretty painful. So that's why the doctor is hoping the scleral lenses will cover up this scarred area to help heal.
Mm-hmm. So were sclerals recommended to you, or is this something you kind of found on your own and brought to them?
Well, sclerals were recommended. Prior to seeing this optometrist I found on the internet, I'd seen, 3 optometrists, 2 ophthalmologists, and it was never mentioned to me about sclerals. So it's this optometrist who specializes in dry eyes that recommended them. And also she also recommended special dry eye glasses as well to maybe try.
Yay. I'm always so happy when I hear that a doctor has recommended dry eye glasses, because usually people just find out online about them, and loved for those to be getting just kind of embraced a little bit more in the medical community. So have you tried moisture chamber glasses? Are they helping?
Actually, I have ordered them. They're going to take a few weeks to come in. And I actually found a recommendation in the Facebook group that some people were wearing like goggles. So I've been wearing these safety goggles, which look ridiculous, but they help. So I'm wearing them until my sclerals are fitted, and I hopefully get the glasses and they help.
They really do help. Boy, I honestly, and I've got all kinds of different gear for my eyes, but I still go back to safety goggles. Yesterday I had to unexpectedly drive down to Portland and back, which is was about 3.5 hours each way, and driving that far is just really super hard on my eyes. But I don't like wearing like my usual kind of moisture chamber glasses type things like my 7 eyes, because they just cut off my side vision too much. And when I'm that far away from home, I want to have good sight. So with safety goggles, it's clear all the way around, so it doesn't block off the vision, and those help. All right, but I'm just going to try again with Vicki and just see if she wanted to share, or Vicki, maybe if you can hear us, but if there's anything we can share, if you want to post in the chat too, or if you're ready to share, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now. Great.
Okay, well, I'm sort of computer illiterate, and I can see you on here, but I can't get your voice on it, so that's why I called in. But anyway, thank you all for sharing, and I have a question about they're wanting to put me in scleras. I've been in daily contacts for quite a while, but my cornea is so uneven that I'm really having trouble seeing, and they put a pair of scleras in for about 15 minutes, and they really felt good. But my question is, they want, I think, $2,200 for them. Is that out of line? Should I shop elsewhere, do you think? Or is that in line with what they cost?
I'm sure the others will share what costs they've seen. From my perspective, that's absolutely not out of line. That's normal. For my personal needs, that would be way low. I mean, lenses I've had have kind of been 5,000 and up. There's a
Wow.
huge range. I'm going to get a link just for kicks. We did a survey about these costs once, and I'm going to post a link to the results from that, what people are spending on scleral lenses. This is a couple of years ago, but it'll show you what a wide range there is. I'm just going to post a link in, and I see a post from PJ. Great, we'll come back to that shortly. I just put this in the chat. But you can see it was, from under $1,000 to north of $10,000. So it really depends on the needs and the complexity. And a lot of it comes down to the experience and skill set of the provider, because there's a number of scleral lens providers, the ones that have been doing this a long time. They've specialized in just a lot of like orphan corneal diseases and things that just can sometimes require a really special skill set to fit someone successfully in it. So, but if you don't have a context for that and you're coming out of some other type of context, that sure sounds high, I'm sure. And you want to ask questions about like, what does that mean? What all is included in that? And just ask them about, how that plays out, the kinds of visits that are covered, and what support you're going to need long term. And also be aware the cost of taking care of scleral lenses is really different from other types of contacts. I just don't even think of them as contact lenses per se. They're more like little prosthetic devices, and they just kind of have their own special needs. And, they have medical implications. They're not necessarily as forgiving as all other contacts. So it's an investment for sure.
Do you know, can you get those insured since they're so expensive?
Wow, is that ever a great question? I have no idea. It seems like I might have seen somebody post about that in the group before. Anybody here know? Yep.
Nope.
Do not know.
Okay.
One thing I do, because I can't really see without mine, is I have a spare pair at all times. Some of us that wear sclerals, we can't see with glasses. So having spares becomes really important then.
I feel like the people who can see well, if your vision is bad enough to have sclerals make a positive difference, it's almost hard to believe that glasses can help. What you see on my face right now are readers, which I am popping on and off so I can read the chat, because my scleral lenses are set for distance vision. So if I just look at all of you on the screen, it's perfect. But if I want to read the small print on the chat, readers are something I do. Now I can pick my way through like a menu at a restaurant without putting on readers, but if I want to read lengthier things.
Mm-hmm.
I was just at GSLS, which is this annual conference in Las Vegas about specialty contact lenses, and they have a ton of content there for doctors about scleral lenses. So I've been going to that conference for the last few years, and this year I was paying more attention to the multifocal sessions where they're doing more and more with multifocals for scleral lenses, which I find fascinating. I don't know that I would try it, but that seems to be an option for more people out there too. I'm just going to read what PJ posted in the chat. PJ's having trouble with the audio here. I'm about 6 months into sclerals, sustained chemical injuries to my corneas about this time last year, spent most of the year trying to salvage my vision. Yikes. Ultimately ended up having a DMEX surgery. That's a type of corneal transplant, for those that don't know, by the doctor that invented it in Portland. That provided me with enough vision in my left lens to allow me to be fitted with scleral contacts. Initially struggled with the things that everyone struggles with, getting them in, which solution to use, which drops to add, etc. Have most recently been challenged with midday fogging and struggling with the correct combination of filling solution and drops to use. All right. It's good to hear that the lenses have worked out as well as they have for you, and that you're able to get fitted in those PHA. And yeah, midday fogging is the bane of our life generally in the scleral lens community, and everybody seems to be concocting their own little cocktails of salines and drops to help avoid that, although there are also a lot of other potential reasons for fogging, anything from, gosh, the fit, which is really the main thing initially, to my handling, things like making sure to use the right type of hand soap before you handle lenses, to filling solutions, to cleaning solutions, to ocular allergy. I know for me, my vision in my lenses is always better if I'm using some kind of lid wipe, both night and morning, especially just before putting them in the morning. All right. And PJ says, I can see the big E on the eye chart without my sclerals. Awesome.
May I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What kind of soap do you use on your hands before you handle the lens?
So the important thing about soap is that it not have any oils. So you don't want any soap with any kind of moisturizer in it.
Oh, okay.
Moisturizer-free soap. So there are soaps on the market that are specifically for contact lens use. And if you like Google contact lens friendly hand soaps, it'll come up. A lot of people, you just use like Dawn dish soap. That works fine. You just check the label carefully for any kind of moisturizers, because so many soaps, even dish soaps and things, have those now. It's any kind of oil, sure thing, any kind of oil on your hands is just so easily transfers to the lens, and then it becomes a magnet for all other kinds of stuff.
Okay.
All right. Who's next? Patricia? Would you like to share?
Let's see if I can get unmuted here, and can
Yeah.
everyone hear me? Which seems to be a problem with my computer at this point. I've been wearing a scleral lens for about 5 months now, and listening to everybody, I think, oh my God, it's not as bad as I thought it was. You know, I mean, more people are suffering more things than I am. I've been fortunate. I'm the poster child for get your shingles shot. I had shingles in my right eye before the vaccine, and it eventually destroyed the cornea. And I spent the last year with an open area. And I've been treated, fortunately, in an academic setting at UCSF at the Proctor Institute. And they've been absolutely incredible. I mean, just absolutely amazing. And my former ophthalmologist retired, and his practice was taken over by a young woman who has just moved back to the San Francisco Bay Area after teaching at Cornell Weill Medical School in New York. So I've really got an amazing team of women who are really up on what's going on. You know, my major, you know, I could go into all of the background of it. I have very little vision in the right eye. And it is scarring, and the hope is that, you know, that it eventually is going to even out somewhat. But is just getting the goddamn thing in my eye. Um, I have to, um, I have the little, what I call, looks like a wine glass that I pop my head into, and So keeping my eyelids open and being able to see that little green light. And those are my really main problems. I have not had fogging. I've read about all of these things. So I think uh, I'm pretty damn lucky after just hearing the few things here.
Learning to get lenses in is a challenge for an awful lot of people. For some people, it's a slam dunk. I always kind of think that's tends to be the case more with some of the smaller diameter sclerals. The larger you get, it's
Yes,
just
this
going to
is
be
pretty big.
challenging. But there's all kinds of challenges, just deeper set eyes or a really strong flinch reflex if you've never worn contacts, or a little bit of tremor, or it's just any number of things that can complicate it. Anybody else have difficulty with just kind of mastering lens insertion skills?
Well, back when I was trying to master it, I found that you really need to take a break. If I don't know exactly what the right number is, but 5 or 10 minutes is way more than enough. Do not just keep trying and trying and trying and, getting upset and frustrated. Walk away, take a break. I know it's hard if you're like trying to get ready and get out in the morning. That's challenging, but it's really important. And you mentioned the green light thing, so I assume you're already doing I found it helped me a lot if I think about bringing my eye to this nice soothing pool of saline, bring the eye to the lens, not lens to
Yes.
eye.
Mm-hmm. It is that, and as you say, I mean, it's the flinch reflex. I mean, it's really overcoming the fact that I'm going to be sticking something in my eye. I've never used contact lenses, and I've been wearing glasses since I was 40, and that was 44 years ago. So um, this is all fairly new.
I'm just going to post PJ's mentioning that too. I eventually went to a lighted stand and found it to be a game changer. So this is the best known one, Dalsy Adaptives or Sea Green. I just put a link in the chat. These have been around for a really long time and just a very, very trusted tool. There's another one. Let's see if I can get a link to it. What is it called? The S2 or S5 or something. Oh, I might or might not be able to find it. Oh, here it is. S5 Mini. That's what I'm thinking of. These guys are costly, but for the right person, sometimes it's just all about finding the right tool for us. This is this one. It's been around for a little while as well. It's more kind of a tall, skinny thing. But again, the idea you're putting your eye on the lens rather than the lens on your eye. I have to say, in the Facebook group, one of the things that gets me every time is when I see stories of somebody just going over and over and, for an hour they've been at it trying to get a lens in. It worries me. And especially if people jump in and say things like, oh, practice makes perfect, just keep going. Not really. That we need supervised training for this, because you can traumatize your eye with these things. You can get abrasions. A lot of times the techniques and the tools really do need to be customized to our needs. So I would just want to always say to everybody, hit up your doctor for more help. If you are struggling with getting the lenses in, I mean, I personally don't feel that lenses should be dispensed until someone has really safely mastered it. Having said that, when I first got sclerals, and this is back in 2006, I remember doing absolutely great on site and for a few days afterwards. And then all of a sudden it was like, what happened? I cannot do this anymore. Went through so needed a little coaching after that. But doctor's office, we really have to hit them up for as much help as possible.
One thing I found, some people seem to do fine sitting down and inserting them, and other people, I am a firm believer in standing up, leaning over the counter.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I do.
I am a stander upper too, but I know lots of people where sitting down is the right way for them.
I find sitting down is safer because if I do drop it, I have a towel in my lap and it drops right there. I'm afraid of dropping on the floor or on the counter, or, you know. But yeah, I also use the green light, but I don't lower my eye to it. I use it like this, and I do bring it up a little bit, but it's that light that saved me because I've struggled for weeks trying to learn it, just so frustrated. But when I got that green light, it changed everything for me.
So you use the light without the stand, Anne?
I put it in the stand and I fill it up and get it all ready. And then I just carefully lift it out and I bend over and I do it like that.
Got it.
There's something about trying to aim for that on the stand that didn't work for me either. But I do sit down and it's right there, you know, over my lap. So yeah, but it finally clicked once I got that light, and now I can do it first try every time and no bubbles and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, everybody's different with what their needs are with these.
Yeah.
And welcome, Anne, by the way. Yeah, do you want to introduce yourself a bit more?
Okay. Yeah. I actually, I've been in sclerals now for a little over a year. Took quite a process just to get them fitted. It was during COVID, and there was long periods of time between the appointments and everything. But I still am hoping for a day when they're just, I can say, like some people have said, oh, I put them in and I forget they're in. I still do not have that level of comfort. Occasionally, if I'm sitting down and everything is still and there isn't any stress going on, I can forget maybe that I have them in, except whenever they're out, my eyes are just terribly miserable. So I just recently, I got my second pair. My insurance covers once a year. So I got a second pair. Now I have a backup. And this time I went with the coating, the HydroPeg coating, hoping that they would be just, you know, magically comfortable. But I just have so much trouble with my eyelids. They're just so easily irritated by anything. And so I don't know what the secret is. My technician that's fitted me, she's a saint. She's very patient and works, you know, when I was trying to learn to put them in, that's an example. You know, she didn't want me to leave the office or send them home with me until I learned to do it. But like you, I did do it finally in the office, but when I went home, I forgot what I learned or something. It just wasn't there again. She says that my eyes are just still getting so dry that I need to put drops in every hour on top of my sclerals. But I find that I'm not sure that helps. I mean, I do it, I've been doing it, but it starts irritating my eyelids, the little bit of salt that's in there or something. And then the other thing is, people say take them out, you know, in the middle of the day, but I find that they feel no better if I take them out and put them back in. It's just as the day goes on, my eyelids have just had it, my eyes have had it. And so I don't know. And I've developed a little bit of a problem with blepharospasms, where I guess that's it, basically, where there's just this, you know, my eyes are just, I just can't keep them open. They're just wanting to close because they're just so miserable. So my doctor recommended the Botox injections, which are supposed to help with that, relax the muscles. So I had that done almost 2 weeks ago. It's supposed to kick in at 2 weeks. And maybe it's a little better, but I've struggled a little bit today. So anyway, I am thankful, like someone said there, you know, I hear stories and I realize I've come a long, long way. And but I guess I'm still looking for the day when, you know, it's the thing that just changes my life. I feel like my life is so still wrapped up in this dry eye problem, you know. And sclerals are helping because when they're out, I can tell the difference. I'm just totally miserable. I can't even function. So I can function with them in, but I feel like I'm never just wonderfully comfortable.
I'm curious, and do you know what diameter your lenses are?
I think she said they're 15
Okay.
millimeters, which isn't huge, is it?
No,
Yeah.
no, that's definitely on the small end.
Are you using any like Xiidra or Restasis or any of those?
I tried both of those. I did Xiidra, I didn't probably give it enough of a try. This was early on in my dry eye journey. And I just it stung when I put them in, and I just felt like it wasn't working, and they were so expensive. It was so expensive at that time anyway. So I decided to ask to try Restasis, which she said would take longer to kick in. But I did that I used it for over 6 months, maybe it was 8 months, something like that. And I decided to try a new dry eye specialist, a doctor who was a dry eye specialist. And he immediately said, it's not working for you. I went in, I was so miserable, and my eyelids were so inflamed, and, you know, and so he said, he wasn't a firm believer. He isn't a firm believer in those type of things unless it, you know, really a person is seeing results, but to just keep trying. He just said, yeah.
I didn't have any real luck with Restasis, having tried it for a long time, dropped it, and then before my insurance would approve Xiidra, I had to trial it at Restasis again, because of course it is cheaper. Xiidra is no miracle, but it's been a little modest help for me. And yes, it does sting, but it's over pretty soon, I find.
Do you have trouble with your eyelids? Because I think it was stinging my eyelids so much.
No, it's mostly the eye itself, and then sometimes, as they warn you, there's a little bit of a taste sensation. Although somebody posted in the group recently about sort of holding your eyes to keep the taste in your mouth. I don't worry about that too much. I just leave some of my water with lemon slices in it.
Yeah, the punctal plugs didn't work for me either. They just, every time, they tried them about 4 times and they just fell out.
Yeah, I lost them.
There are a lot of different types of plugs, and falling out sometimes it can be just like if they're using a particular brand and you seem to be in between their sizes, it could be because of that. But some of the kind of extended duration dissolvable plugs can be a good option for people where the kind of silicone ones aren't working out. Just a thought.
What about I don't know if you I tried all those things too, like the plugs, the Restasis, the Xiidra. And I'm waiting right now to have serum tears made. Is that something you've tried?
I use those. Yeah.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure. I only do 20% because I did bump up to 50%. And it just felt like as soon as I put them in, my eyes were immediately felt dry, and they feel a little more soothed with 20%, but it doesn't last very long. It's like 5 minutes and they feel dry again. But I still use them because I tried going off one time not too long ago. I went off for a couple weeks, and then my eyes just started getting a lot worse. And I just decided, nope, I think I've got to keep doing these. So I think it's part of the overall plan that keeps it tolerable. But
it's a very frustrating disease. I find like it's hard to imagine how debilitating this can be if you're not suffering from the dry eye. I never would have imagined before, like, dry eye being such a big deal,
yeah, I know. it is. I wonder, I mean, I've heard somebody, some people say, this is not in the dry eye support group or anything. It's like, I think they're trying to sell some natural products or something, but say, stop using drops. This makes it worse, but I don't know. I can't quite believe that's true. But it does seem like for a lot of people, once it gets going and you start trying to treat it, it just accelerates until it's such a problem. And is it our screens? What is it?
Dry eye is a really complicated beast. I think one of the worst aspects of it is the name. We get stuck with this dry eye or dry eye disease or chronic dry eye or dry eye syndrome. And it's so misleading. It's just, I mean, it's not accurate. It's not descriptive. It just sounds so trivializing. You would not imagine hearing the phrase dry eye, what it can actually do to people. I prefer just using different language for it that really, is more descriptive of what's going on. I mean, it's a little bit more of a mouthful, but I like kind of breaking it into two pieces. And one of them is ocular surface disease, which is kind of the category it falls into, right? And the other is ocular surface pain, because that's really what all of these symptoms, whether it's burning or grittiness or light sensitivity, these are all ocular pain symptoms. And that's the part that I think messes with our lives more than anything else, is how comfortable our eyes get doing just basic, normal daily things, being on screens and so on.
Yeah. Well, I asked my ophthalmologist when it started getting as bad as it's gotten, why, I mean, what did she attribute it to for me? And she immediately said it's because I had RK back in 30 years ago, but that I have scars, and it's the scarring, and then it combined, I think, with my age. And so I don't know, though.
That's what I had, RK in 1994.
I think for a lot of us, there's like a convergence of a whole bunch of different pieces. There's a lot of people that had refractive surgery, either RK back then or LASIK or PRK or something. And then, there can be other risk factors. There's a ton of just ordinary medications that have dry eye as a side effect. There's an awful lot of other medical treatments that cause it. Then, for those of us of the female persuasion, when we hit the years, hormonal change can kick in, and then there's where we live. Climate makes a big difference. Altitude can make a big difference, and you can have like mild dry eye going along for a long time, and then one new factor comes in, and all of a sudden, whammo! It just escalates and snowballs into this thing that's running your life for no obvious reason. But
looks like Patricia is asking, what is RK?
Yes.
That's radiokeratotomy is what it stands for. And it was
the predecessor to LASIK, and
Right.
they used a blade to make cuts in your cornea, and generally it was for nearsightedness, and it flattened the cornea.
Yeah.
it seemed like a really good idea at the time.
Right.
And I don't know. 20, 30 years down the road, sometimes we're running into vision issues and dry eye issues.
And weirdly enough, I was pretty darn happy for 6 to 8 years after my RK. I certainly know people who had the newer, better procedures who knew they were in trouble a whole lot sooner than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it took 30 years for this.
Oh, you got a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I did my vision regressed before that, so I was back in glasses after.
Well, that's the thing I tell people. It's whatever refractive surgery you have, the odds are pretty close to 100% that you'll be wearing glasses or contacts again, and those will be regular contacts if you're lucky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But usually it's more like sclerals.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to mention, just thinking about your discomfort issues with the lenses, where it sounds like they're giving you comfort benefits for the dryness, but you still got a lot of lens awareness. Just for perspective, for me personally, and we're all different, but I've never successfully worn lenses smaller than 18 millimeters. I can't tolerate them. Anything that's closer to the cornea than that is just, I mean, kind of like you say, just either always aware, or for me, worse than that, just getting too uncomfortable, or my eyes would get too red or things.
Yeah.
So I know that if you have eyelid sensitivity issues where everything's bothering the eyelids, it might seem counterintuitive to go to a larger lens because you think there's going to be more kind of surface area rubbing on the underside of the lid, right? But for some of us, larger really is better. But when there's eyelid issues, there's this balance we're trying to find, right, between how to make the cornea happy and how to make the eyelid happy. And sometimes the solutions just aren't that obvious or intuitive, but it might just be worth, if you're not getting where you want to be, just asking your provider about the possibility of larger lenses. I know that with a number of the kind of mainstream brands, they only go up so far. They might only go to 16.5 or 17 or something, but even that would be larger than you're in. So not saying this would fix anything, but just it might be a question to ask.
Yeah, okay, that's a good thought. Yeah. Does anybody else have a problem with, I find that they're more comfortable, like I said, if I'm just sitting. But as soon as I get up and even stand up or walk around, my eyes are just struggling more. And that's whether I have the lenses in or not. The dry eye problem is much more. And I don't think it's just the movement. It's something about blood flow or something. I don't know. I've never been able to explain it totally, but I just have a lot more problem standing up or walking around than I do just sitting. Nobody.
Have you tried moisture chamber glasses? Does that make any difference? I understand what you're saying, that you don't think
Yeah. I maybe should try that now. I did get some sunglasses for outside. I ended up with the Sienna. Is it Sienna? Yeah, so to block the wind so that I can walk outside. Problem I'm having there is that I didn't get them dark enough. I got polarized or something, and so I'm still squinting like crazy because my eyes are very light sensitive. But I should maybe try. I tried some on. I went to a optometrist that sold the moisture chamber glasses, and I tried some on, tried walking around, but it seemed like the air was seeping in through the edges. Maybe it's just a matter of getting a better fit. So, but I maybe should look into that. I've thought of that recently.
For outdoors, personally, I like the foam lined types better. They're not as attractive, but you can get really windproof with them. Just in case the others don't know what we're talking about, these are the type of glasses we're talking about with these little silicone shields in them. And they make them now with like these bendable earpieces, so you can tighten it up if you really want to get them like really cinched close to your face to keep them windproof. But depending on the shape of the eye cup, that's not always possible. Just a link. Too. Anybody want to share about how you found your scleral lens provider? I know that's it's a question I get from people a lot, is how do I find a good provider?
I just went on Google and just kind of Googled, my city and not necessarily scleral lens, but my city and dry eye doctor or dry eye and so I sort of just went through the reviews and went through their web pages, and that's how I found my doctor.
So you found your doctor, and your doctor had scleral lenses as one of the things, that you weren't looking specifically for a scleral lens doctor, is that?
No, I had never even really heard of them before. I just looked up dry eye doctor. Yeah.
And I started out in Portland when we lived there. I had seen one ophthalmologist who was a dry eye corneal specialist, and he actually wanted to do some sort of a little touch-up surgery on one of my eyes where, there's actual irregular scar surface. And I didn't like the idea of that too much. And my husband said, well, I think we need to go to a university, which in Portland, OHSU. So first I went to a corneal specialist there, who in turn referred me to an optometrist who was an expert in fitting scleral lenses, which I'd never heard of. And he ended up, then I worked with a student who was practicing on her own in Seattle. And now that I live in Lacey, I was seeing her in Seattle, but she just recently quit practicing. So I'm back looking for somebody, but now I'm no longer ignorant of what to look for. I feel very, very lucky with that first optometrist at OHSU, and then Dr. Habibi, who just recently left the practice in Seattle.
Dr. Habibi is lovely. I've been to her for iPrint Pro lenses in the past too. We'll miss her.
Well, I joked with her. I was following her around because, I saw her when she was a student at OHSU, and, then we moved to Lacey and she's in Seattle. So I saw her there.
I think even like it doesn't even guarantee so I think when the fifth doctor I was referred to is my ophthalmologist, and she's a cornea specialist, and it's in a tertiary care large hospital, and even scleral lenses weren't even something that she's even recommended. It's just she was just giving me the Zedra, the Restasis, the autologous serum drops, and that was kind of it. That's the end of the line type thing. So yeah. And what my optometrist what I've heard is that they're kind of more into surgery and procedures, and dry eye is not something that is a big thing for them, I guess.
You mean with the ophthalmologists?
Yeah.
They like to do procedures, and the optometrists are usually the scleral lens experts. I got lucky that the ophthalmologist sent me to an expert scleral lens fitter.
Yeah, mine didn't even bring it up. I mean, I've been to her several times. I've told her, how debilitating my symptoms are, and it was never really brought up, like scleral lenses or the other, like Lipoflow or IPL. None of that was even. That's just something I kind of found on my own online.
So thinking about that kind of referral process from cornea specialist to optometrist for sclerals, that's classic when it's a vision-driven thing. I mean, the majority of people that get scleral lenses have things like keratoconus, right? That's one of that's a disease affecting your vision rather than comfort. But with dry eye, it's a much smaller percentage of scleral lenses that are fitted, and it's been a long time coming for ophthalmology to become more aware and more on board with the idea of scleral lenses specifically for dry eye. It's still, it's like 15-16% of scleral lenses that are being used for ocular surface disease in general. So it doesn't surprise me that there's plenty of practices where it's just not something that's necessarily even on their radar for dry eye, unless it's like really extreme dry eye where you need the protection as opposed to more for getting comfortable.
For years I thought I had only dry eye disease, because that's all that was presented to me is you have dry eye. And then I started feeling like I was wearing glasses, and I kept feeling like, well, I need a new prescription. And it, the vision did, as you're saying, Rebecca, drive the process. But for a very long time, I had no idea how damaged my corneas were. I thought it was all related to this dry eye syndrome.
I think it is though. My doctor diagnosed me with the limbal stem cell deficiency, which is like kind of a result of the severe untreated dry eye.
Yeah, that's got its challenges. Limbal stem cell deficiency. How long, when were you diagnosed with that, Kelly?
I would say like officially 6 months ago, but I had like other doctors suspected something like they knew something, but they couldn't quite pinpoint it. They thought maybe it was like superior limbic keratoconjunctivitis. So I was referred to another ophthalmologist, and then that's when I was diagnosed with the limbal stem cell deficiency.
What is that?
From what I understand, not necessarily scarring, but sort of like scarring from chronic severe inflammation of the eye. So it's like almost inflammatory tissue, which develops in the cornea. So it causes a lot of pain and photophobia and blurry vision and that kind of thing.
Okay.
I think I've explained. I think that's what it is from what I understand.
I'm just going to post a quick link. Yeah, it's a little bit complicated, and I don't know that I know enough to give a good explanation. But I mean, the limbus is the transition zone between the cornea and the sclera, or the white of the eye. And I mean, it's what it says, stem cell deficiency. So those stem cells that are needed to keep repopulating layers of the cornea, when that's not working, that creates some real issues. We have I don't know if you're on, Kelly, we have a Facebook group specifically for that. I'm not sure how active it is right now, but that's a pretty specialized little disease area. So it can be helpful to connect with others too. I have a friend over in Seattle that has that, who sees a really good cornea specialist north of here.
So it's not super common, I guess. I did join the group. It's a small group. I guess it's not super common. Yeah.
My diagnosis is neurotropic keratitis.
Oh boy, okay.
And which essentially was destroying the cornea. The cornea was essentially open when I started seeing the new ophthalmologist who took over the practice of my old physician. And we talked about, I thought, oh, cornea transplant, that'll solve everything. And because the virus, shingles virus, continues to live in your body, and around that site, it would just not take. It would be, it would fail. So that was not an option.
Did you do the Oxervate?
Yes, I did Oxervate. I think I talked to you at one point.
I know your name, so I was like, oh,
yeah, well, and I buy all my supplies from the dry. But yes, the Oxervate, which was quite a challenge, and that was trying to get the nerves in the eye to begin to lubricate the eye, and it didn't, and it was a horrendous treatment, but I really wanted to try. We wanted to try whatever was going to possibly make things better, and so I've gotten to this point, and I feel we've tried everything, and at this point, yes, the scleral lens seems to be working pretty well. And again, I think I'm very fortunate in that I'm being seen in an academic setting, because the Proctor Eye Institute is on one floor with a team of fabulous physicians and my particular doctor who heads um, the institute. And then their optometrists, which are UCSF optometrists, are then up on the fourth floor. So, I go from the second floor to the fourth floor.
Great to have it all in one place. Sounds like you've got great providers.
It's wonderful, and they're very patient. It took me 3 tries, 3 different visits before I could comfortably, or that the optometrists felt that I could be let out on my own of inserting the lens. And I forget what size it is, but it is large.
When you say 3 visits, do you mean the training sessions or also fitting?
Training session, well, training and fitting, yeah. I mean, we were doing, the first was the fitting and so on, and then it was 3 training sessions, a week apart.
How about the rest of you? How much in and out and back and forth did you have before you were more or less good to go?
It took me months, but as I said, it was during COVID, and so there were long period stretches between the appointments because I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what all the reasons were. I think my fitter is also very, very patient, and she isn't really a specialist in this. She's learned a lot because she's had a few patients as part of the practice. She just the regular contact lens person, but she's kind of taken it upon herself to become really informed about and done a lot of research on her own to become, fit me and some others with scleral lenses. But she's the only one in the office who can do it. And I don't know, sometimes she just can't keep up with everything. So it just took a lot of months. I lost track of how many months it took. It was like almost a year, it seemed like, before I really got a pair that fit.
It was a rough year. I knew quite a few people who were just on the verge of starting to get fitted when the shutdown came year before last, and it just made it excruciating. And others that were, ready for some kind of treatment that needed to be in office that had to be put off. But I love that you had somebody that was so committed to this process with you. I mean, having somebody who will stick it out and find the solutions and just really be there for you. Love to hear that.
Yeah.
Anybody want to share about, I don't know, either their best or their worst with sclerals? What they, just seeing PJ's note 2, 5 different sets of lenses and several additional training sessions. Yeah. Numbers of lenses people go through really varies a lot. For me, it's tended to be kind of 3 to 5. I have some kind of challenging vision issues too. And PJ also mentioned my eye surgeon referred me to an optometrist that was local in Vancouver. It was someone he holds in high regard, and he has very high standards. Those partnerships, when it's a good partnership between the cornea doc and scleral lens provider, is great.
So your question was what, worst and best, or?
Yeah, depending what people are most aware of right now. Let's see. Patricia's need to leave. Thank you for coming, Patricia. And I know we're at 6 o'clock, so just up to you guys if you want to stay a little longer. I'm going to be here a little bit longer. I'm actually really tickled that we had such a small group because there were like 30 people registered, and I have no idea how to handle a group that size. Our dry eye groups are pretty small, so.
I'm back. I just had to take a little break. And I'm noticing a ceiling fan in back of you. Fans are my enemy for my eyes anyway, even though
Yeah.
I
It
used to
doesn't
run
feel like
hot.
it's moving the air here. So yeah, I don't even know why. I just realized, I mean, it's 20 degrees outside. Why do we have the,
Well, if you, what do they say? I always have to Google it. You can reverse the fan for the winter to push the heat down, but I
oh,
mean, in general, I try to, like in the car, I never have the vent blowing on, the front of my body, upper body,
yeah, yeah, same.
and all of those. I sort of avoid fans as much as I can.
It's true. I do too. So it's not moving the air over here, but you're right. I should probably turn that off. Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking what you said about when you
Yeah.
stand up, and I know sometimes, gosh, in those hot days we had last summer, you go outside and you feel it right away in your eyes, right?
But I'm also finding that winter is really hard because the air is colder. And I don't even live in a cold part of the country. I'm in Texas, but right now we're having a, you know, really cold. It's still a little bit moist, at least this time, so it isn't as bad as the last time we had a cold snap when it got
Mm.
air just sucked the moisture out of the air. But so I do use a humidifier at night as well. Whenever the humidity drops below 40% or something, I put it on right next to me and
Oh, that's good.
yeah, and then use
I should do that.
whatever those, an eye mask, and that helps too. So
At my desk at the office, I use a little hygrometer
yeah,
that
I've got one of those. Okay. So then do you turn on a humidifier whenever it's
I have a desktop humidifier that I normally avoid it because I just don't trust myself to put the work in to take care of it and keep it thoroughly clean and all that. But if things are getting too dry, then I will sometimes turn that on. Of all the places that I've lived, the worst one for my eyes was actually the Tampa Bay area in Florida. Lived there for, I don't know, a year and a half or so. And the winters were lovely, but man, the summers were horrible because just everything was air conditioned to death. And you walk in anywhere and it was 68 degrees and bone dry and blowing and fans and things. So that was rough. I mean, just kind of the equivalent of winters in the Northeast. Summers in Florida were hard on the eyes.
yeah.
When I lived in Connecticut, I was really disappointed that those hot, humid summers weren't, better for my eyes than they were. In the winter, of course, as you said, the Northeast is terrible.
There's so many factors at play. It's like, I mean, Tampa was incredibly humid, right? You'd think that that would be good, but the pollen counts can be super high in some of the places that are really humid too. And
Mhm.
way back in the beginning of time, in the aftermath of when Restasis was first rolled out, this is like 2003, 2004, some big PR thing, they published this list of the worst cities in the US, the 100 top dry eye cities in the US or something. And they had a particular means of ranking them based on humidity and pollution and altitude and allergens and all these different things. And it was really interesting reading through that list because there were some surprising cities on there. I think actually 4 out of the top 5 were in Texas. And of course, top one was Las Vegas. But amongst those cities in Texas, there were dry cities and there were humid cities. I mean, Houston was pretty far up that list as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of allergens in the air, pollen, and that bothers me a lot too. So I use allergy drops regularly, but those have a drying effect. So, you can't win, but I need it for otherwise my eyelids just get so itchy, so.
There's no free lunch.
Where I live, it's like a range. I'm in Canada, so it's like either minus 40 Celsius in the winter, and it goes up to like plus 40 in the summer. So it's like either you have the heat cranked up in the winter or the AC blasting in the summer. So I guess it's not the best for the eyes.
Yeah.
And I still remember when I was really, untreated living in Connecticut, and I was going to the Yale Eye Center, which was 35 plus miles from my home. And of course, the photophobia with the snow. I mean, I can remember being stopped at stop signs and, just brushing the tears away because of, that blinding sun off of the snow, and couldn't wait to get into the woods a little bit.
Yeah, I've actually damaged my car because of this, because of the eyes, that I've smashed up the front of my car, running over a curb because I couldn't see it, and it's crazy.
Yeah, I've done that too. I rolled into somebody because I went, my eyes were itching so bad and just felt so tired, and I just blinked too long. We were just crawling along, anyway, because I was in a line waiting to get actually a COVID shot, vaccine. But I rolled into the car in front of me, up my front.
Oh my gosh. Crazy.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Vicky, I don't know if you wanted to share any more. I know I muted you at some point just because there was some background noise coming through. So if you have any, you are on.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to get off, but I sure wanted to thank you ladies, because I'm a future wearer and I've learned a lot, and I was wondering if there is a group that you can join. If you would tell me what that would be, I would love to join a group.
A group as in here on Zoom, or are you in the Facebook group, or?
The dry eye zone. Is there a dry eye zone group?
So when you say join a group, are you meaning, we were going to have more of these video sessions. We'll be doing these on Thursdays in general. But then there's the Facebook group for scleral lenses, and the dry eye zone Facebook group, Dry Eye Talk.
Oh, okay. So there's one on Facebook that I could join?
Yeah. All right. Let's see. So
My big fat scleral lens, right?
okay.
That one is that
That's what I was going to say. My big fat scleral lens.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
What was that called?
I'll post that. Are you able to see the chat, Vicky? I can post a link there for you. And I think.
Oh,
so I'm just looking. I see
okay.
that.
What did you want me to do?
Are you able to see the chat here on YouTube? Like somewhere on your screen, there should be a thing that says more, and then under that, there's a little chat link.
I see a chat, yes.
Okay, bear with me a sec. I'm just going to get you a link to the Facebook group. Come on, computer, behave. Okay. This is right.
I think I'm going to head out too, but really nice meeting everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thanks for coming. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Take
everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. We'll go ahead and wrap up then, I think, here.
Good night, everyone. Thanks a lot for the info.
Everybody. Okay. Vicky, were you able to see that link?
Well, I hit it. It says chat, and I hit it.
Bear with me a sec. I'm going to see if
There's over on the right-hand side, there's a lot of Dry Eye Foundation. Got a phone number.
Right. So in there, then if you scroll way down to the bottom of that, or, you know,
Okay.
let's see how else I could get this to. I want to say, because I can see that
Hmm.
you're in our Facebook Dry Eye group.
I scrolled all the way to the bottom, and it just says, to everyone who can see your messages.
right, just above that, scroll up just a little bit. There's one that says, it's from me to everyone, and there's a link to the Facebook group there.
Oh, Dry Eye Foundation to everyone.
Yep. That.
Facebook. There it is. Facebook.com. I've got it. Thank you so much.
You bet. Hope to see you in the group, and let us know if we can help with anything.
Thank you, Rebecca. I really appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Thanks for coming in.
Okay, I just wanted to ask one quick question. You
Sure.
said silicone dissolvable, what were they called? The plugs, the type of plugs that,
Oh, right. So just dissolvable plugs. So there's plugs can be either for the external type of plugs. There's generally silicone, the little umbrella shaped ones that sit on the outside. But there's what's called intracanaliculars. These ones they put inside. They make some of those out of like dissolvable polymers, so they'll last maybe 3 to 6 months.
okay,
For some people where none of the external ones seem to fit right, having those dissolvables can be a good option.
okay, I'll ask about it. All right, thank you.
Thing.
Okay, thanks so much.
All right. Thank you guys for coming, and see you another time. Have a good night.
Okay, good night.